Hi, everybody. My name is Charlie Preeser, and I am an Assistant Director of Fraternity Sorority Life here at William & Mary. And I am joined by my colleague, Alexa Gerling, who is also an Assistant Director of Fraternity Sorority Life. You'll get to meet her in a second. Thank you for joining us on our video. We just want to give you a quick presentation on Fraternity Sorority Life here at William & Mary and what you need to know if your student is interested in Fraternity Sorority Life. So let's talk a little bit about what are fraternities and sororities. So national fraternities and sororities are international organizations that you have your men's groups or your women's groups, and they are social organizations that are values-based and all about service and philanthropy and scholarship. So next slide. So some benefits of joining our organizations are lifelong friendships and support systems for college and beyond. You can gain a sense of belonging in a home away from home. Fraternities and sororities provide you with growth opportunities and a chance to expand your comfort zone and try new things. There's a vast alumni network, which can be helpful as you're looking for internships or job opportunities. There's opportunities to lead in the chapter with, on the chapter executive board, but also in positions without a title. And fraternities and sororities can provide you with an opportunity to get involved in the larger Williamsburg community through service and philanthropy. So talking about our core values for fraternity and sorority life here at William & Mary, our core values that drive what our office does and what all of our organizations do are scholarship, community, leadership, and service. So a quick overview of the community. We do have 3 governing councils, which is our National Panhellenic Council, our Interfraternity Council, and our Panhellenic Council. And we'll talk more about what the councils mean and what organizations are within this council in just a minute. But on campus, we have over 30 fraternities and sororities, which account for over 1,600 members in the community, which equals out to about 24% of our undergraduate student body. So just how to meet everybody and how to meet all these organizations. There are quite a few opportunities beyond finding them on Instagram or just happening upon somebody wearing a shirt in the library or cafeteria. So our first activity is the Fraternity Sorority Life meet and greet, which is on Monday, August 28th at 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. in the Sunken Garden. And all of our fraternities and all of our sororities will be there. And this is an opportunity to just walk around and meet members of every organization, and also for unaffiliated students to meet other students who might be interested in joining an organization as well. And then on the same night, later in the evening, we had the Student Organizations and Activities Fair. So again, Monday, August 28th from 7 to 9 p.m. in the Sadler Student Center. And so all 3 councils will be there. All NPHC chapters and SIA will be there. Sigma Iota Alpha is our Latina identity organization. So a quick joining requirement that is true for all chapters. If someone is interested in joining all of our chapters, a potential new member needs to complete the Home Without Hazing training, which is happening this weekend. They need to register for recruitment or seek out information from chapters about the intake process. And we do have QR codes for IFC and Panhellenic recruitment later in this slideshow. And we also encourage you to check out the Hazing Prevention at William & Mary TribeLink page to learn more about what we're doing and what is required to join our organizations. So now I'm going to give a quick overview of the IFC as I try to move out of the way. We have 15 chapters, and each chapter has their own set of values and their own philanthropy that they all work to raise money and support. So each chapter is unique in how they, in the events that they do, how they raise money, and the values that they hold. Our chapter sizes in the Interfraternity Council ranges from 16 men to 84 men, and everywhere in between. So if you're wanting a smaller group, if you're wanting a larger group, there's a group any size that you would want. Every IFC chapter participates in recruitment in every semester. So if a student decides not to join in this semester, this fall, they can go through the process again in the spring or even next fall or later if they so choose. And I also want to recognize and point out that Delta Phi, which is also known as St. Elmo, is not a recognized fraternity or student organization. This group has been suspended from campus but continues to operate underground. So we ask that if you hear your student talking about Delta Phi or St. Elmo, that you remind them or let them know that that's not a recognized student organization and they should not be affiliating themselves with that group. So continuing our overview of the IFC chapters, this is a list of all of our organizations that we do have on campus. And like I mentioned, IFC recruitment does take place every semester. The recruitment process is self-directed, which means every chapter creates their own events, and potential new members can go to whichever events they want. There is an info session in Tidewater A, which is in the Sadler Center, on August 31st from 6 to 8 p.m., which all potential new members do need to go to. And then our first weekend for open houses is the weekend of September 2nd and 3rd, which does occur on Fraternity Row. You can see the Fraternity Sorority Life website for more information. We have 3 open house weekends, so you can go in and see which houses are open on what weekend. And then all IFC fraternities will hold multiple open houses that I mentioned during the first few weeks of the semester and potentially other events as well. Like I mentioned earlier, you can scan this QR code to register for recruitment, and we encourage you to check out the William and Mary Fraternity Sorority Life website, visit us on TribeLink, or follow IFC on Instagram at WM_IFC. And if you have any questions, you can email ifc@wm.edu, and our Vice President of Recruitment will check that regularly and get back as soon as possible. So things to consider as your student goes through fraternity recruitment, and ask them these questions. Hopefully they're asking themselves these questions. Have I met enough men in this chapter that I like spending time with? Am I going to feel that I belong in this group? How does this group compare to the other chapters that I met? What are their values? Do their values align with me? Joining a fraternity or a sorority is a big time commitment. So what will that time commitment look like for this specific chapter, and will you be able to manage that? Some questions that we recommend you to talk with your student about further is figuring out what they want out of the fraternity experience, and just really having a conversation about the values and if that's aligned. Also, have your student check with the organization about housing requirements. And we do want to just point out that this is your student's decision. So while hopefully they're talking to you about this, we hope that you allow them to discover what organization they want to join on their own.
Moving on from the Interfraternity Council, we also have the Pennant Council. So the Pennant Council oversees our 10 NPC sororities on campus, and all of the chapters range in size from 85 to roughly 105 every single semester. While all of our chapters have some common goals, we do want to point out that all of them were founded on different values, and with that also support different philanthropies. Talking about Panhellenic recruitment, so similar to the Interfraternity Council, recruitment takes place every semester. However, there are different types of recruitment. Formal recruitment takes place every fall semester, and in this instance takes place on September 2nd through the 4th, as well as the 8th through the 10th, so over the 2 weekends after classes start. If your student is interested in joining a sorority, this is a wonderful time for them to participate, because this is the only time that they will have the opportunity to meet all of the 10 chapters and get to speak with some members one-on-one and really get to know them and to see what chapters for them. Something to note, our recruitment registration is currently open and it will close on August 30th at midnight. In order for a student to participate in recruitment for fall, they are required to be registered. So I highly encourage your student to scan this QR code and register. If they do change their mind at a later point, that is okay as well, but we do want to make sure that we have the recruitment registration filled out. That being said, if your student has already registered for recruitment or is interested in joining a sorority, they need to attend the potential new member info session, which will be on Friday, September 1st, from 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. in Commonwealth Auditorium in Sadler. So this is the event where we're going to be going over just basic recruitment logistics and kind of what to expect, because we do understand that this is a formal process and we want to make sure that your student feels prepared as they go through the 2 weekends so they don't get overwhelmed. Additional information can be found on the William and Mary Fraternity Sorority Life website or on the Panhellenic Instagram, which is at WM Panhellenic. Otherwise, feel free to email the Panhellenic email, which is also listed here. And if you have any questions, they are happy to get back to you. Additionally, speaking for sorority recruitment, for the formal recruitment, some things you should consider is, or your student should consider is, if they want to join a specific chapter within the Panhellenic community. We also have, again, chapters that have up to 105 women. That means there's a lot of different types of people in a chapter. And as such, there's always going to be some that you naturally gravitate to and some that you don't. So with that, just giving yourself the opportunity to explore those connections and figuring out where you can find your friends or where you can see yourself growing in. And then also, just generally speaking, they should ask themselves, what are they hoping to get out of their sorority experience? Again, all of these chapters have different sizes, they're different types of women. So with that, they will all provide a different experience. Something for you to consider as parent, family member, or guardian is formal recruitment is not an easy process. There can be tears. While this does not happen a lot, we do understand that the nature of the fall recruitment process can be a lot for people. So we just want to point this out. We do have a recruitment counselor for each student as well, who will act as their as support and to help guide them through the process, so they can lean on them to help talk through things. But we just want to point this out. Also, something to keep in mind, all of our sororities do provide a similar experience. They all do have on-campus chapter houses and do have some commonalities overall. And then finally, as Charlie mentioned earlier, this is your student's decision. We understand that you might know someone who's already in a chapter, you might have been in a chapter yourself, but at the end of the day, your student gets to decide where they want to spend the next 4 years of their life. I also mentioned briefly that there's different types of recruitment. So the other type of recruitment that we have is informal recruitment, also referred to as COB. This takes place every spring semester. This process is a lot more informal. There isn't an actual structure in place, and a student will not be able to meet all 10 chapters, which is probably the biggest difference, because in fall recruitment, you can meet all 10 chapters. That being said, not all chapters will be recruiting and like every spring semester. And if they do recruit, the number of spots available per chapter will vary. So we cannot guarantee that there will be any spots available. So that's just something to keep in mind. Otherwise, if your student does not want to participate in formal recruitment provides a great opportunity for a more relaxed environment where the students can get to know members of a chapter more one-on-one at different events. Could be maybe meeting for coffee somewhere or for a game night, unlike formal recruitment, which is more structured in that way. That being said, all chapters do market their events on social media. So your student would have to kind of keep track on that to just look at that. Also, as mentioned early in the presentation, a Home Without Hazing potential new member training is required for any student who's interested in joining a sorority or fraternity. We just want to make sure that your student is going to have a healthy, safe, and fun environment to be in, and part of that is providing training. And then again, if you have any questions about Panhellenic recruitment, feel free to reach out. They are happy to address any questions. Moving on from Panhellenic sororities, we have the National Panhellenic Council, pretty similar in name, but quite different organizations. So NPHC are service-based organizations that are historically Black or African American. They are also referred to as Divine Nine or D9 chapters. And we currently have 5 of the 9 chapters on campus, which are listed here. They have a different joining process, unlike IFC and Panhellenic. Their joining processes are directed based on chapter. So with that being said, if you're interested in becoming a member of one of the organizations, you will have to reach out to the organization directly or reach out to nphc01@wm.edu to gain more information about that. So with that being said, again, the intake process is different for all the chapters. So stay on the lookout for what the students are putting out. General things that someone should consider if they're interested in joining. All of our organizations do have a minimum GPA requirement, so grade point average requirement, as well as a credit hour completion requirement. So they do not take a first semester freshman into their organizations. That being said, once you have completed your first semester, then this becomes an opportunity to you. Organizations might also require letters of recommendation. They will require demonstrated service to the community, and as well as like a number of service hours completed before joining. Otherwise, also just generally demonstrated interest in the organization. And another thing to consider is that these organizations do cost a lot of money upfront. Based on how the organizations are structured. So it is super important for your student to save money if they are interested in one of these chapters. We also have one multicultural organization on campus, which is Sigma Iota Alpha Incorporated. They are our only Latin-based sorority on campus, and they currently do not belong to an active council. Similar to NPHC, though, they also have their own intake process, and some of their requirements do include having a minimum GPA of 2.5 and having completed, again, between 12 and 18 credit hours. If you are interested in learning more about SIA, you can reach out to them via Instagram, and they would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Generally, for family considerations, we would highly encourage you to talk to people in your community about their experience within any of the organizations, just to learn more. I think that is always a good thing to do, just because different people will have different experiences. And the other thing you can also do is just read up online about the different organizations. Your students will ultimately meet these people and have the opportunity to make their own decisions, but this could be a great opportunity for you to learn more and then engage your student in that conversation. So again, I know we've talked about this earlier, but just a friendly reminder, we do have opportunities to meet all of our chapters. The first one being the FSL meet and greet, which will take place on Monday, August 28th from 3:30 to 5:30 in the second garden. And again, this is where all of our fraternities and sororities will be, and all of them will have members at the individual tables. So if your student is interested in talking to a specific chapter or just learning more in general, we would highly, highly, highly encourage them to go to this and just meet new people. And if not, it's a great way to meet some other people that might be living in your residence hall, or just some future friends. Also, again, we do have the Student Organizations and Activities Fair that same evening from 7 to 9 p.m. in the Sadler Center. This is where you can find our IFC and Panhellenic Council, and they can answer any questions that you might have about the formalized recruitment process. And then we also have all of our individual NPHC organizations and SIA there as well. So if you have any specific questions, or your student has any specific questions about joining one of those organizations, we would highly encourage them again to stop by and just introduce themselves, because that's truly the best way to get to know them. So just to conclude really quickly, again, Charlie and myself, we are happy to help out and help get your student connected or answer any questions. If you do have some, our emails are listed here as well as our phone numbers. Feel free to reach out to us if there is anything that pops to mind. And then otherwise, you can also take a look at our Fraternity Sorority Life website. That is up to date with the current information, and should have links to all of the QR codes, recruitment registrations, and just general schedules should you have any information. All right, well, that concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful experience in becoming part of the William & Mary community.